I think we all know the truth. What's up, guys? Okkotsu here, and we want to do a nice little quick discussion on what the best sure hit for Yuta Okkotsu's domain expansion. True, authentic, mutual love. It really is. Honestly, there are a bunch of different options, but I feel like there's only like 3 real ones. And even then, amongst those 3 real ones, I think there's only really 2 real ones. And amongst those 2, I truly think there's only 1. So let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. Editing me. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do have it on me. And keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact. Okkotsu. Let's talk about it. In particular, the idea of this. Yuta Okkotsu's domain is authenticity and mutual love. It selects one of the curse techniques from amongst his copied and stockpiled, and grants it to the barrier as a can't-miss attack. Now, that's the big question we're trying to answer. Where did my English go? That is the big question we're here to answer today. Out of the many curse techniques that Yuta Okkotsu is confirmed to have, which one is the best for his sure hit of his domain? And to that, I think we gotta disqualify a couple easy ones, a couple light ones, a couple smooth ones, a couple buttery ones. I think the easiest one to disqualify, Bernard's future vision isn't awful. It's not like bad, but like, why would you want that as a sure hit? Like, maybe so you can get the perception in, but like, that'd be a non-lethal sure hit, and that's kind of a waste when you could just pick up a sword and get it anyway. And depending on the sure hit of the domain, instead of that, it's most likely going to be lethal anyway, so why risk fighting somebody even in your own domain where you could just, like, atomize them? So I think that's, like, the worst one that you could apply to the domain. I'll be completely real, I don't see any reason you would ever apply this as the shirt of the domain. Even, like, specialty niche uses, I don't see one for that, like we're going to see for others. Another one that I think is kind of maybe sort of useless in terms of, I'm not sure. Curse speech could hypothetically work as a sure hit, because essentially then there's no way to guard against it, right? Like if you get hit by curse speech innately and you're consistently being told not to move, or worse, perish, or self-delete. Like, if you're being told that, then maybe, but I still say this is one of the weaker ones because of the hypothetical rebound it could have on the user. Like, notably, if this Sukuna were any more near full power, Yuta's throat would explode. Like, notably, a lot of the other techniques that Yuta has access to kind of allow him to transcend his stats and curse energy pool. Meanwhile, curse speech is quite heavily bound to it. Like, these two currently have equal amounts of curse energy. If Sukuna had, like, 25% more, I'm pretty sure Yuta would have done damage to himself and not to Sukuna. And while I'm not exactly sure how the rebound would work on the domain expansion, that would be a bit weird, I'll admit. I still think it just wouldn't be the best. You don't want to use cursed speech. Once again, you kind of run into the Bernard issue, where unless you're like literally telling people to just explode, detonate, perish, give up, cease living, like unless you're doing all that, I don't really see a reason why you'd use cursed speech. I think this is a fine thing you just pick up in one of the katanas. Another one that I think is pretty easily disqualified is, that's it. I think we're actually to the top 3, because what other ones? Oh, True Shikigami technique. Another one. Yeah. It's neat enough. But since those can act as, like, support tech on top of your basic Shikigami, like Rika, and then you can also, have your regular sure hit, I think having the pseudo-domain within the domain is something better to just pick up and use offensively, rather than just have this as a sure hit. While the sure hit does do decent damage, they're gonna, like, they very clearly tear his back apart. They leave good slash marks on him. We have another sure hit that can easily be used for slashing, so I don't think Jujutsu Kaisen technique is the way either. So we've kind of burned through 3 already. We burned through Charles, we burned through Jujutsu Kaisen technique, and we burned through Curse Speech. So if those 3 aren't it, then who are the top 3 real ones? That are real bad boys that we truly talking about here in this scenario? Well, Yuta's using one of them. And in my opinion, arguably the weakest one, but I need y'all to hear me out. The big thing about Sky Manipulation in particular as a sure hit is that presumably, I'm making a big presumption here, presumably Thin Icebreaker's the sure hit. And here's the thing about Thin Icebreaker. It is spatial manipulation Duradang. While someone could arguably be stronger than Yuta and like eat curse speech, you know, because, like, fine, whatever. There are going to be characters bulkier, and Yuta doesn't want to take that hypothetical backlash if his domain works like that. That could be bad. Jujutsu Kaisen technique, it could be whack. And Bernard's technique, absolute garbage. But within Icebreaker, having, you know, the ability to just shatter space repeatedly on people with the sure hit effect, that'd be pretty good. That'd be some solid damage consistently without too much thought behind it. And notably, it's one of the few techniques that Yuta has access to that wouldn't really get in the way of anything else. Like, he could still wombo combo Rika on top of a sure hit thin Icebreaker. He could wombo combo himself on top of a sure hit thin Icebreaker. He could arguably wombo combo literally anything, because thin Icebreaker, while it would be shattering space on his respective opponent, it wouldn't actually be shattering space around Yuta or anything like that, and he wouldn't have to worry about consistently burning katanas. The only reason I'd say you kind of don't want Sky Manipulation as the katana, or no, you don't want it as the sure hit, you'd rather have it as a katana, is because of the defensive flexibility that seemingly would be sacrificed if you were to be using it. Now, don't get me wrong, you could go to the whole argument of, like, well, a defense, the best defense is a great offense, and stuff like that, and be like, well, if you just keep spatial Duranegging your opponent, then hypothetically, they're going to perish eventually anyway, so you don't have to worry about any sort of defensive plays. But I still think, overall, if you're going to do something that's a Duranegation, tear a body apart, annihilate an individual type beat, I think you kind of do want to still stick with Sky Manipulation as a katana rather than the sure hit, because the flexibility is just infinitely more. Like, I don't think there's much. I think Sky Manipulation is at its best when it's being used defensively or leading into things offensively, like Yuta uses it here to fly into the air and start pulling space, stuff like that. I think those are the best ways to use it. Meanwhile, while Thin Icebreaker is a good high AP attack, and I think it's the best of all the possible sure hits we've discussed so far, I still don't think it's worth it ultimately. I still think you'd rather have something better. And by something better, we get to the top two, the two ones that are in high contention, high debate. And I'll admit, one of those things being in high contention, high debate is in fact the technique of the King of Curses himself, Cleave. Now, this is weird. This is weird. Let me say this is weird verbatim. There are two ways to read this interaction right here. Read number one. Yuta's output is not necessarily good enough to use Cleave effectively. Or B, Yuta is suppressing himself to not cleave Sukuna into pieces with his own technique. I'll lean somewhere in the middle. I'll say that. I'll lean somewhere in the middle, mainly because I do think Yuta could have done more damage, especially since Sukuna was mostly off guard here. He caught the sword alright, but he was not ready for the cleave. I think more lethal damage could have been done if Yuta was actually looking to do it and not trying to save Megami. So there's Cleave, then there's the other one. The beautiful one. The juicy one. The scrumdiddlyumptious one. Jacob's Ladder. Maximum output. Now, here's the thing about this one. The way Cleave and Dismantle works, I think it's pretty, like, the reason it's a coin toss to me is because we don't know how certain barriers interact, even if they're meant to target buildings. Like, hypothetically, what does that mean? Say Yuta were to apply Cleave and Dismantle to a sure hit, would that mean that Cleave and Dismantle automatically activates like it was Malevolent Trine generic, and then everything within the effect of the black space in the real world also gets torn apart? Or would that not be the case, and would authentic pure mutual love still create a separate space, and thusly only Cleave would be applicable? Because the thing is, the reason why Malevolent Trine works so well is because it's open buried. It overlaps in reality. Yuta's domain doesn't do that. And with that being the case, ultimately, I actually think the best thing for Yuta would be Jacob's Ladder as the sure hit. Well, I definitely see the potency of Cleave and the potential of it. Once again, with its lacking performance against Sukuna and Yuta also never using it again, it's hard to tell how much his potency works with that. I still think you can use Cleave on top of Jacob's Ladder. And the thing with Jacob's Ladder in particular is that, realistically, you will always like to turn off your opponent's ability if they're fighting you. It's only legitimately useless against Maki and Toji. That's the argument I see for Dismantle, if you think Dismantle will work functionally, even though the separate space still comes into effect. If you think Dismantle won't work or you think Cleave won't work and Dismantle needs to be the case, then I could see having Dismantle at the top. And I wouldn't even be mad if you have Dismantle at your top. But for me personally, I think Jacob's Ladder is the best one because it provides the most utility. It shuts down everything. It atomizes evil spirits. It would literally one-shot some of Yuta's worst matchups, like a Kashimo, like a Uro, like a real... Like, just turning off abilities is way too good. And having that as the sure hit, and it'll just keep blasting as you wombo combo them with every single other technique. I don't know. I've seen people walk through my level 1 shrine. I ain't seen anybody really walk through a Jacob's Ladder. So that's my opinion. What is your opinion? Let me know in the comment section down below. And thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I'm out on every videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have an application down below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. You get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. And so now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reaction to the very next chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, ad-free variations of all my videos, and if you become a $25 patron or $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dad with a Pencil, writing off. I would like to give a thank you to our $3 members: Recliner Plays, Greyhound, Atkins Void, Astro, Eternal Flame, Querency Atala, Red Wolf 4765, G Prosper, and Paris Arnold. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 patrons: Steron, Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Marcus, Kevin, and Igneal. And I'd like to give a big old thank you to our $7 members: Autumn Mornings Lazo and Sick Addiction. And I'd like to give a big old thank you to our $10 member, Robbie Uchiha. And I'd like to give a gargantuan thank you to our $10 patrons, Panda Goat, Joaquin, and Idemokami. And I'd like to give a gargantuan scrumdiddlyumptious thank you to our $25 patron, ChinaDoll09. And I'd like to give another gargantuan gargantuan I have no idea what that word is. Thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.